I wouldn't say, we have some bumps and bruises. I wouldn't say, forecasting for the week. There's some guys that, will be downshifting our tempo to some portion of the practice that if we didn't, might not be able to go. But we still have a lot of time, and fortunately there wasn't any of those. Injuries you hate to see. So we feel more bruises than injuries, I think, at this point. And I have some optimism for several guys that are working through stuff. So no news is good news.
How do you envision a second week of practice going for those window guys, Bradley Chubb, Cameron Good, and Blake Ferguson?
I'm excited for their work week. I think they this week represents an 100% increase in what they've done thus far, right? So I think there's that's exciting just in general, and for me, I'm just waiting to see the signs of guys that are unable to tolerate not playing in the games anymore, and that they're ready. So some good week of opportunity and observation really to get those guys jumping back in. But we won't get ahead of ourselves. We'll let it play out because again, especially guys coming off extended missed time. Half of it is what they're able to do that day, then half of it's the feedback the next day. So then because you don't want to, when their bodies are telling them something, we're trying to listen to make sure that we don't overcook the whole process.
Rough estimate of how much time you and DeMeco spent talking football, and how much will that be used against each other this week?
So that conversation of DeMeco and I talking football started in 2006 because he was a rookie, second round, first pick of the second round draft pick, who became the rookie of the year and was the starting Mike linebacker and made all the calls. It was my first year as a full-time NFL coach. So we were the exact same age, I think. And just watching him as a player, then, we get back together in San Francisco, and how fast he took to coaching was not a surprise, because, again, you can't underestimate, the quarterback of a defense as a rookie from the jump. So, I think philosophically, the tape makes more sense when you're watching the opposing team, just because we kind of know the starting point and the philosophical beliefs. At the same time, so much of for me, what DeMeco coaches, it doesn't matter that I know. It's the nuts and bolts of really of coaching that actually matters to players when you're talking directly impacting how well they play the game. So much of it is consistency of fundamentals and details and mindset. That it's helpful to a degree, but I know how well prepared he'll be. I know to call the game. I know how well prepared his team will be. They kind of take on his playing mindset just collectively. I remember feeling that when we had our joint practices against him, and you can just see it on tape. The relentless physicality and the connectivity and strain, it's all real. So it will, I think I know to be prepared based upon my experience with him, and we'll have our guys tuned up because it's a challenge, but one that we welcome.
Mike, Houston has one of the league's best pass rushes. Does Tua's quick delivery time help to ease your mind in that respect, and does it help to negate a little bit of the effectiveness of that pass rush?
I'm very, very confident in Tua's ability. I'm also a football coach that's directly observing very, very good pass rush. So you don't take that lightly. I think the biggest part is it's a collection of individuals on both sides of the ball that kind of determine QB pressure and sacks. What do I mean by that? Well, yes, Tua has to have a quick delivery. He has a quick delivery if there's someone that's running the appropriate route in the timing of the play. So that has to be in unison. The launch point and where we're blocking from and where he can make those decisions. That has something to do with it. And like defensively, sacks come in bunches when coverage is on point. So there's a lot of stat sheets filled just around the league in general that the sacks go to the defensive end or the defensive tackle and goes against the offensive line. But in reality, the quarterback didn't have anybody to throw to. So I think overall in this situation, I think it whatever the talents that Tua has delivering the football, who's to say it's plus or minus the talents of the pass rush. I think overall they're very, very good at pass rushing. Tua's good at getting the ball out, and overall I think it's going to be more of a complexion of the unit or the entire group and how they're all, defensively, how are they defending, how are they covering with pass rush, offensively, how we are protecting, but how are we moving down the field, beating reroute, beating man coverage, separating the timing of the play. Those things, I think it's what it's going to come down to, less individuals, more of a collection of the group.
You're 1 week closer to a 500 record. In these past couple weeks, special teams played an important role in winning and losing. Specifically, like Malik Washington, what have you noticed this week about him?
Well, factually, I think every week special teams is special in its own right. And I kind of look at just plays. Plays are plays. Like a ball is being moved by a group of people or attempted to being moved down the field to get into an end zone. If you don't get into the end zone, you get closer, then you can try to use have one player use his foot to get it through uprights. That whole thing, yards, field position, it all plays together. I think this past game, we don't win if we don't have three-phase complementary football when it mattered most. So, the ebbs and flows of each game, first quarter is different than the second, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it was after a 3-and-out. It started with Sran Neal on that punt, making a play. Defense responded to that momentum, and then you're getting yourself to a fifth quarter, only by without timeouts, being able to have a shortened field, and I think the equivalent of 2 extra first downs, he was able to execute on that kick return. Monumental. I think if I'm a fan of just maybe the Miami Dolphins and I'm observing Malik Washington from one week to another. I think I already know what I need to know of who he is. It was just a week ago that he had probably his one of his worst football moments in a muffed punt. But he didn't run from it. He works tirelessly, and as a result, if he was passive by any measure, that's a touchback. That ball could have gone through the end zone, but he aggressively fielded it and displayed his confidence, and I think also displayed what makes him unique, what makes him. There's a lot of rookies in the National Football League, but if I don't know what the ratio of sixth-round draft picks that are playing and contributing versus not. It's the exception to the rule, I would say, and that's because of things like that. But I think he really got to show people who he is, and all you need to know is how his teammates feel about him. They absolutely love him because that's the greatest respect you can pay towards your team is being accountable for a mistake and then making up for it in the moment of truth.
Today, Zach Sealer received his first Player of the Week award. What's your reaction to that? Do you think he's playing at a Pro Bowl level this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know the coaches that I talk to after games think so. I think Zach Sealer, he represents a lot of things that I firmly believe in. He's a player that far after he gets done playing, he will serve an example for the next 20 rookie classes of like perseverance and what you can do if you just refuse to give up and attack adversity. This is a guy that was, I think there was a random stat that he was the first player to be cut to sign a contract at whatever level he signed it at, whatever that number was. And what has he done with that? Earned it every week and then some. I think he's week in, week out, he finds ways to make plays. And he is a monumental piece to our team. Every Sunday, a lot of his teammates are relying upon him bringing what he has to offer for the team, and he never ever backs down, and loves the game of football, and is just one of the cooler players I've ever had the opportunity to coach, quite honestly. So yeah, he's very deserving of accolades, and I have a feeling it won't be the last.
Time for a few more guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, going back to Perk's question about Tua, I noticed on the touchdown to Tyreek, he kind of drifts away from that hot pressure off of the backside and finds a new launch point that you mentioned in Perk's answer. So I guess kind of two-part question is that something that is inherent to him in the play, or can he be coached to do that? And also, if you could describe maybe the value of the little nuanced details in Tua's game that kind of takes him to a different level.
Well, I think you guys are all. I think everyone is observing how much the nuanced things within the quarterback position have helped his game. I think it was probably the summer of 22. When Tyreek was going public about how accurate he was, and people thought he was crazy, and now your people are talking about how accurate he is. The accuracy hasn't changed. It's quite literally the same. What's changed is playing the position, and how, for me, Tua represents the epitome of accountability and I don't know, security in one's skin. So often, one of the bigger challenges in this profession, coaching, playing, whatever, is you have arrows coming at you left and right, and you know, it is human nature to be like, listen, I'm good. This is not my fault, or this is, and that's not him. He's attacked, his game in a relentless fashion, and I think, the greatest example is, I've talked to him a ton today, and zero has been about any feat, anything that's happened literally last week. We watched film on Monday and talked about his game-winning touchdown, but turned the page firmly Texans. And that's, when it comes down to it, win, lose, or draw, praise, the anti-praise. You have a game against a very good opponent that you have to prepare for. In the National Football League, there's a lot of distractions, but can you focus on your job and how it relates to all of your teammates and how vastly important that is. I think that's what he's really, really doing a great job of. He is right now could care less about completion percentage or 300-yard games or whatever. He's trying to make sure that he's doing the right ball handling on run plays, as well as knows how to move everybody in and out of the huddle, lead the offense and lead this team.
I wanted to ask about Jalen Ramsey. The Jets target him in a way that we really haven't seen much here. Your thoughts on that? They're taking that approach, how he handled it, and how he's played in general this year.
Well, I think one thing that can happen when you have an asset such as Jalen Ramsey is you can lean on his talents in very aggressive ways, and sometimes kind of give all help to all others in term, not just safeties but body position of underneath coverage, and there's certain times that I think he believes and we believe that the defense is best served when he's on an island, and then within that, I think sometimes with those bold approaches, a play here or there can happen. Then there can be another play that is affected, maybe that ultimately taking on the responsibility of being the big ask of the defense for that week is not something a lot of people would even sign up for. And based upon our experience, you aren't totally thinking that he's going to get targeted that much. But we all know in the game of football that there's a lot of nuances, a lot of change, and you have to adjust. I think as a competitor, I as a head coach, I couldn't be happier that one of our top competitors on this team was challenged, because I just know how he responds, and I thought he had some of his best technique within that game. He's a very prideful dude that is one of those guys that takes everything personal on the football field in a good way. I know we're gonna get the the best version of Jalen Ramsey versus the Texans, which is mostly what my brain's on right now.